Thank you so much to all of you for coming out today on this beautiful Nantucket day for another exciting installment in our 2014 Food for Thought lecture series at the Whaling Museum. If you haven't already, please take the time now to silence your cell phones as to not disrupt today's presentation, which would be ironic with the things we're talking about today. We thank you as always for supporting this free community program, which is made possible in part by the M.S. Worthington Foundation. Jason Bridges, our speaker today, first came to Nantucket in 1999 from a small town in Indiana. After working in Nantucket's food industry for 11 years, Jason started the Nantucket Bike Tours in 2011 and accidentally created a digital media consulting business in 2012, and also works part-time for the Town of Nantucket as their digital public outreach specialist. His marketing philosophy concentrates brand growth by collaboration and giving back to the island community. In this presentation, he is going to demonstrate how building relationships via the community and your involvement with the community and the digital handshake can take your marketing to the next level. So everybody please join me in giving a warm welcome to Jason Bridges.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks for the NHA for having me. This is what I'm doing right now is exactly what I'll be talking about today. Is just giving back. Is to show up and give a presentation when you're asked for free. And that's a great branding. A lot of people know me here, a lot of people don't know me, and hopefully at the end, in one way I can help you, you can help me, and that's how this island works. So today I'm going to talk about building your brand, which was the original topic of discussion from Holly Finnegan from Nantucket Black Book, what she was going to do. She had to leave for a family emergency, so NHA contacted me on Monday, and I was happy to jump in. And when Lindsay asked her, like, who do you want to replace you? She said, call Jason. He'll take care of it. And Holly and I have been working together for 2 or 3 years. She had just started Black Book 2.5 years ago, but she was not on Twitter. And I knew that was the perfect digital platform for her and what she does. And she was going to write an article about me. I said, well, I'm starting this new bike tour business, but I can't pay you anything. I'm plumb out of money, but I can consult you. I can help you a little bit. So we met, and I pretty much forced her to go on Twitter, and she did not want to do it. And now it's her #1 platform, and it's how she's getting the word out, and is doing really well with it. So her and I barter. She calls me when she has an issue, and then she pushes people my way, and that's kind of how Holly and I got to know each other. We teach social media classes at night in the off season, social media 101 to Twitter to Pinterest and all that kind of fun stuff. So building your brand. What does that mean? Is it the same thing that Larry and I were talking about in the 1940s when you were running a bus route, when Fran was running his bus route? He's probably doing the exact same things that we need to do today. The trust factor, building relationships, collaborating. So none of that has changed. It's just the platforms and what we do it have changed. So now we have Facebook and Twitter and blogs and websites. The principles are the same. And well, the one thing that I see people having the most problem with is because of traditional media, right? You have a billboard, you have a newspaper article, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with In Magazine or The Inky or anything like that, but you have one message and it just gets pushed out, right? You're not pulling anybody in. You're not truly connecting with them. So that's what we're going to talking about. It's a major part of it. You still need that, but these other social networks require something different, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'd like this to be interactive. I don't want anybody falling asleep. If I see anybody nodding, I'm going to come over and tap you on the shoulder. Please ask a question. Stop me. This isn't, except it's fine. You can sleep. You can take a snooze. Ask questions. I want it to be interactive as possible. So just to give you a little bit of background on myself, when I was 8 years old, I did not know that I was going to be connected to Nantucket. But looking back, I'm scaring my sister with a shark in a pool in my backyard. This is like the best we had. Little did I know I'd be here swimming with the sharks, once I got to be 25 years old. When we're this young, we don't think about how we brand ourselves. We don't think about kind of who we are from other people. We're just who we are. We do our thing. It's changing today. If you're a small business owner, or you run a nonprofit, or you believe in a nonprofit and you're working with them, how do you brand yourself to help these organizations? So I really just want to get a couple laughs up here and kind of loosen the things up. So that was just me when I was 8. But now we have to think about it differently. So I want to talk a little bit about the basics. I thought I'd put a kind of a semi-gross picture up of I'd say probably my social media hero is Gary Vaynerchuk. And he is the guy who started the wine library. Has anybody heard of that? The wine library? A couple people. He he grew up in his father's kind of wine store, liquor store. And so he knew a lot about wines. And when he got into his 20s, so he just got on YouTube and took a picture of him a video of him talking about wines. That was it. Then he'd bring experts on, and he had a vision, and he kept going, and now he's probably worth $300 million. And his goal in life, from when he was young, is to buy the New York Jets. And he's worth about $300 million. He feels like he needs to get up, probably double that to be able to buy the Jets. But when they do the wine tastings, they always spit into the Jets helmet or the Jets bucket. So good branding on his part, right? Always focusing on it. So Gary Vaynerchuk talks about the thank you economy. And that is, like I mentioned earlier, the billboards and the print ads, we still need them, but it's only pushing out a message. You see it, that's great, but it's not pulling anybody in. And this is the difference of social media now in the networks. It's the social networking. We can pull people in. We can go to the heartstrings. Like we go to the emotional center. And that's what he kind of talks about in a great book. And I'm not plugging him for anything. I don't benefit from this, but if you can read one book about branding, about marketing, read The Thank You Economy. It's great stories. I think I've touched on combining the traditional and the social media. It's very important, but if you're going to put an ad in the Inky or Yesterday's Island, why not put a QR code in there that takes you to your website or a page that has something really personal on it? You with your team, people smiling, that type of stuff. You can measure it. You're bringing people in a little more, so you can combine these things. The 80-20 rule. Anybody's taken any of my classes, you've heard me preach this over and over again. 20% of what you put out in your marketing needs to be about your product and service. The other 80% needs to be about the emotional center, the everything else. If you're on Nantucket, you need to talk about Nantucket. You need to talk about who you are, why you do it, that type of thing. You need to be collaborative. Only 20% is actually buy my bike tour, hire me to make your video. I see Candace back there. Don't just continue to sell yourself, because no one's really going to listen. So I was talking to Lindsay beforehand, and I said, Lindsay, why you're not on Instagram? What's going on? She's like, we're getting there. So I'm here to push the NHA to get that Instagram account up. And you have all these beautiful things in here. It would take a year to photograph them and put them on Instagram. But if you're it depends on how you're talking about it. How do you connect with people with this awesome whale skeleton? I mean, there's probably different ways you could do it. You could do a campaign on that alone, different parts of it through Instagram, and connect with a younger crowd. This keeps getting caught. Whereas as Facebook and some other platforms are a tad older, and that's good. You have to know your audience, your target audience. Let me move on here. I see people being really creative. It costs them no money. So the one on the right with Tom Brady. Does anybody know where this is going? Everybody see this on Facebook? Greg Henson, who is brilliant. So Greg Henson, who knows Photoshop, took a picture of Tom Brady and Giselle and snapped it on top of Nantucket. And it was an April Fool's joke. So everybody thought Tom Brady was here on the island. It got picked up by, is that too loud now? Okay. It got picked up by all these Boston media outlets, and they were showing it as April. It was on maybe the news. It got in some articles, so online magazines. And for him, now I don't really know Photoshop. It would take me a while to do that, but for him, I bet it took him 2 or 3 minutes. That's really fun, easy branding, even though he's not really trying to sell himself, but you never know what's going to come out of that. The other one is, do you remember when Justin Bieber got in trouble with the law? Someone took Photoshop, they took a little, the kid in the stroller, put it on top of probably the O.J. Simpson chase and said, Justin Bieber running from the law, right? That caught my eye on Twitter, and it got retweeted and reposted thousands and thousands of times. And so I clicked on to see who originally did that. Now I know that person, or I know of them. And I'm sure someone picked him up, and now he's their community manager marketing for some big company, just from little things like that. So it's fun to be creative. And I would say back in the day, my dad's restaurant that I grew up in, bussing tables when I was 13, probably should have been 15. Don't anybody call the Indiana Labor Department. Get in trouble there. But you had comment cards, and everybody would write the comment cards, and they'd put them in a box, and at the end, my dad would go out and grab comment cards. He'd read them, and he'd have to either wait till they came in again, or he'd have to call them. That was really the only way to get feedback from your customers, outside of them just talking to you, but not everybody's comfortable doing that. Now we have all these different platforms where you can engage your customers. Collaboration. So I was forced into this happily when I started the bike tours because we didn't have a lot of money. We bought the bikes, we built the website, but I had no money for marketing. So this is how I got into all this world, because I just ran out of money, had nothing for marketing. So we got on Facebook and Twitter, and I read every book and article that I could imagine. And I did collaborations. I was knocking on NHA's door saying, like, hey, let's do some kind of history tour, all kinds of different ideas, and we did. And I got some promotion through that. I've done things with the book festival, just trying to be creative, and I'm helping them out. They're helping. It's mutually beneficial. And so to collaborate is key. It's key everywhere, but it's definitely key on this island. So this goes back to building your brand, right? You're doing things with all these different organizations. Mariah Mitchell, for example, if I didn't talk with them and collaborate with them, I wouldn't have probably had a place to run the bike tours. So we kind of we did a deal where all my tours go by all their major stops. And in return, they gave me, affordable rent, and I ran out a little shop on Washington Street. It was mutually beneficial. It was great. That worked out really well for us. This even happened to me this week about criticizing, condemning, and complaining. I saw some things that weren't true that came out the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to come in locally. I wanted to call them out because I'm mad, right? I want to go on Twitter and Facebook and be like, "You're a liar." But what is the benefit of that, right? You called them out, you feel great, and now you look like a jerk, right? It's just so I see people doing that a lot. There's probably other ways you could probably do it. Maybe you contact that person one-on-one through an email. That's to them, not publicly. So I see that happening a lot. So don't complain, criticize. It hurts your brand. So try to stay positive. I see somebody smiling back there. They must be knowing what I'm talking about. Another issue that I see people that they need help with their branding is everything's one way. You're just pushing out what you're doing. You're just pushing out your product. You're not talking to anybody. You're just saying what you're doing, or it's not two-way. You need to jump in conversations. You need to engage people. When you put a post out, you need to engage those people so they will talk back to you. And that's what we have that my father's comment cards did not. So when we do these classes, when I consult with somebody, I try to teach them how to do this. Is anybody thinking, when do I have time to do this? Right. It's let me go back and show you how most people view. Oops, sorry. Oh, that was gross. This is how most people view the social media world. Right. Where would you start with that? That's nuts. I actually was going to play a joke and act like this is what the presentation was going to be on, but I skipped it. This is everything that's out there times 10. I mean, this was made 2 years ago, so who knows what else is out there? It's always changing, but it can be done. But you have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan. I see some shaking your head over there, Jim. You don't have to do all of that. You don't have to do 2% of it. It's different industries, different audiences. So not to scare you, but that's what everybody feels that they're getting into. All right, let me go back through here. Does everybody know Prezi? This is an online platform, a PowerPoint. That's really nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, make this a little more interactive. I wanted to talk about building relationships, and I had all these stories, and I just didn't want to go through the story, so I took a topic or a headline of each story, and you guys get to pick which one you want me to talk about. And maybe we get through all of them, maybe we don't, but which one sounds interesting? Okay. So, has anybody heard of Boloco Burrito? It's a burrito shop. I think they're all in maybe the Northeast. I've been to one up in, I think, in Vermont. There was a woman who, young woman who went in and got a burrito, and the music was blaring. It was so loud she couldn't hear her burrito. She couldn't hear herself think. It was too much. So she went outside on the sidewalk and sat down and was eating her burrito, and she tweeted about it. And she put Boloco's handle in there so Boloco could see it. You know, I can't sit in a restaurant and eat my sandwich. Music's too loud. The vice president of operations happened to be looking at their Twitter feed at that time. And he saw this, clicked on her profile, saw, could tell where she was from, right? He called up that store. The manager went out, got her, and said, "We just turned down the music. Come on in." And then she blogged about it, and she tweeted about it, said how nice they are. This customer service is so great. She happened to be a very, very influential blogger who had thousands of followers. So she wrote this big blog about it. So Boloco just by being nice, just by caring and taking care of this one customer, they probably reached out to hundreds of thousands of people. Then that story made this book. That's how I heard about it. He sold millions of copies. So the one act of kindness took Boloco millions of people. It reached millions of people as opposed to paying for a Super Bowl ad, right? Now, if all advertising went, we'd all be in trouble. We had no newspapers, we had no TV, we'd be in trouble. But you can see how this is one part of your strategy, just by being nice and watching what people are saying, right? Being on these platforms so people can say good or bad things to you. Anything else? Nobody? 5-hour phone calls? Has anybody ever used Zappos? Amazon? Heard of Amazon? So Zappos sells shoes. They sell shoes over here, right? They sell a $100 shoe. Amazon over here sells the same shoe for $80. Zappos outsells Amazon in shoes every year, over and over and over. Why? Why would that happen? You're going to save $20 by buying it from Amazon. Why would you get it from Zappos? Amazon has the same thing. Free delivery, right? Prime. Yeah, but still the cost is like $20 isn't even close. It's customer service. Zappos has the best customer service over the phone lines. It feels like it's your friend you haven't talked to since high school when you call them to order shoes. And this morning, I was talking to somebody about this presentation, and I brought up the Zappos thing. They're like, "Oh, that's funny. I just saw last week on Facebook, somebody here said, I had the best conversation with the Zappos rep. Feels like an old friend." So the 5-hour phone call, they're on record for having the longest customer service phone call, 5 hours straight with one person to deal with the situation. Could you imagine doing? I mean, that's what they're dedicated to, you know. So Amazon buys Zappos for $1.2 billion. Wall Street, everybody said, "You're crazy." Jeff, is it Bezos, the Amazon CEO, said, "You're crazy. Why? You're overvaluing it. It's dumb. You made a mistake." But Jeff, the CEO, he saw a culture, a customer service culture that nobody else had in a bigger organization. So it starts from the top and goes all the way down. And so, I mean, I could sit here for an hour and tell you Zappos stories, things that they do. They're really impressive. There's people have written books about them. Check them out if you're interested in Zappos. Anything else? Nobody wants? What's that? One of the scariest things by coming on all these platforms is you're opening yourself up to negative feedback. Imagine if you're a bigger corporation, you sell a product, right? You feel like your brand is going to get hurt. by all the negative feedback. If you're a restaurant on Nantucket, you don't want to be on TripAdvisor and all these places because Lord knows that in a restaurant, it doesn't always work. No matter how great the restaurant is, something's going to go wrong on any given day, right? Someone's going to be mad about something, So why be on these platforms? And it hurts my brand. Every time you get a negative comment, and I'm going to use some stories with Holly on this, you have to see it as an opportunity. You have to change the way you think about it and respond to them. Sometimes you don't need to respond to it, but you need to respond and show everyone the high level of customer service that you have. So it's got to be seen as an opportunity. So Holly still, today, will call me or shoot me a text and say, look at Instagram. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete it. It was a negative comment about one of her products that she was pushing for her clients. And I call her, I'm like, you can't delete it. It's not, no one's cussing. There's nothing inflammatory about it. They just don't like your product. You can't delete that. You have to keep it there. So go in and say, thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate it. We much appreciated. So anything like that. So negative feedback has to be seen as an opportunity. So has anybody heard of the rapper 50 Cent? If you haven't, that's a good thing too. If you haven't. So he's one of the top rappers, hip hop guys, and someone went on YouTube, a young kid, and posted this video that went viral about how he was a sellout because he was advertising for vitamin water and all these things that he had kind of rapped against. And so he called him out and it went viral. Millions of people were looking at this video of this kid just calling out 50 Cent. So 50 Cent said he saw it as an opportunity. He flew the kid to New York and then filmed them talking on this cool balcony overlooking Times Square. And then they're just chumming around and talking about what this kid's issues were, right? Then that went viral. So now all of a sudden I like 50 Cent and I don't want to like him. But now he's a good guy, right? He did a good guy thing. He's a good sport. He took somebody who was criticizing him and he turned it around, right? And we could go through story after story on those type of things, but that's the negative feedback part. I know, Rob, you're dying about the pregnant quote, so I'm going to give you that. Yeah. So what we do with the bike tours, when someone calls, we try to talk to them for 5 to 10 minutes when they're asking about our bike tours. We try to ask questions about them. We try to get them to know us a little bit. And it's only 5 or 10 minutes, but that's our initial way into them. And sometimes I don't have 5 or 10 minutes to talk to everybody. But what that does is when they walk through the door or through our yard, we already know them. And then it's a little more, we're already kind of building up that relationship to start. So I had a group of women who were coming here for, I think one was turning 30, so there was 8 of them, and they wanted to do a bike tour. And I had talked to them, one woman a couple times who was setting it up. And it was a custom tour. And then everybody's got their helmets on. We're ready to go. It was a really fun group. And then she pulls me over to the side and she goes, just by the way, so you know, I'm pregnant and nobody knows. So she's telling me she's pregnant. None of her friends know. And she's giving me this information. That would not have happened if we didn't build that relationship from the beginning, right? It's eye contact. It's taking the 10 minutes on the phone calls. It's being nice in the email. It's not being super. It's taking the extra time and writing 2 extra sentences in your email. Being nice, right? Being caring. So I could give you a bunch of stories how people like to divulge all of their secrets to us on the bike tours. But it's because we connect with them. They trust us. And that's what we teach all our staff is how do you build trust in 15, 20 minutes? Because you're taking them on a tour, right? How do you build that trust up? Well, it starts with Facebook and Twitter and the phone call and the ads and the brochures. It all connects. Because on the brochures, right, that's print. You need those. You have smiling faces, right? You have us smiling with the bikes. Like, we're your friends. We'll take care of you. But you also do the same thing on Facebook. You do it when you meet them. You do it through the emails. So, get the picture? You got it? Yeah, I'm kind of repeating myself. What else do we have here? Lance Armstrong's swim buddy. I almost became his swim buddy here in Nantucket. Almost. So, I happened to see, this is back when Lance, before the downfall Lance. So, this is maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And he's coming to Nantucket. I guess Senator Kerry and him, Senator Kerry at the time, they were doing some training for a bike ride. He was coming here. He's looking for a place to swim. And he threw it out on Twitter. So I wrote back to him and said, I'm with the Tri Club, and we usually swim on these times at the pool. I can maybe connect you with Jim at the pool. And so he writes back to me. He follows me and then direct messages me and says, no problem. He wouldn't have done that if he looked at my profile first to make sure I'm not a weirdo, right? Make sure I haven't tweeted 3 times, that I had a decent, profile set up. So because I was on this platform, because I was active in it, I saw this. It was and almost got a swim with Lance Armstrong. It didn't work out, but it almost happened. Is that it? I think we got the $10,000 shopping spree. This is kind of another one of people trusting you and they never met you because they see you on these digital platforms. Holly from Black Book, her clients are all their retail, their restaurants, their jewelry. She's pushing events, activities, everything. So this one guy was following her over probably the last year, and he just direct messaged her on Twitter and said, I love your style. You and my wife's style is exactly the same. I'd love for you to help me get some things for my wife. I admit it, I'm busy. I just need some help. So they started talking. She said, you can do this, you can do this. And he said, you know what, here's my American Express. Use it for up to 10 grand and just buy her whatever you want. This actually happened. So she took it to all her clients, and they went to some clothes and some photography and connected them and then sent it off. And he gave her card just like that without knowing her, but he did know her, right? He knew her through Twitter and Facebook. He knew that it was real because she's interactive and she's engaging, and right, so that's building the trust factor through a digital platform. I was at the Nantucket Project 2 years ago. I was one of the, what do they call it when they, fellows, thank you. I was lucky enough to be selected one of the fellows. And through Twitter, there was a hashtag that everybody could follow, and there was a guy named John Wood who does all these reading programs over the world. So he was tweeting, and I started tweeting back to him. I said, hey, great presentation, John, really liked it. We happened to meet 2 hours later. I introduced myself. He's like, oh, hey, the bike guy, saw you on Twitter. And the conversation rolled really easy because we had already met. Even though it was just an hour or two ago, but we already met on this platform. So the trust had already started. I know we're talking about at a very small level, but we'd already had that conversation. We couldn't do that with the comment cards of when I was a kid at my dad's restaurant. So that's pretty much, I think, all I have for here. Just wanted to thank you. We're going to do some questions, but this is Holly. I got to thank Holly because she allowed me to step in her place. This is us when we teach our social media classes upstairs at the chamber. So I got to give her a plug. But I'm open to happen to any questions, stories you want to tell me, successes that you had in the digital media world, maybe not just social media. Rob? Mhm. Right. I would say first off that your branding there is effective because even though I might not engage with you, I see every tweet that you do, and I know I connect you with adventure and snowboarding, skiing, and active life and riding because that's what you're always and you're in the forefront of my mind. So I might not interact with you on that. Biking is another thing that that's how I see you, your brand. So it is effective. I run into people all the time at the green, and I'll say, we'll start talking about something. Oh, yeah, I saw that on Facebook. But they never engage. They're lurking, right? So that's what it's called. It's called lurking. I know that has a very negative connotation to it, but they're called lurkers. Yeah, and that's okay, though. I mean, these social networks are great to pull information out and see what's going on, whether it's CNN News or what's going on in your community. But I would say, I would suggest to put more contact tweets in, is what they're called. So you're putting something that's specific to me, right? You put my handle in there, so I see it, and then I'm going to engage with you in a conversation. So it's that conversation when you're standing at the bean, talking to somebody. How do you do that more on Twitter? Right. Yes, if you put the period, that helps, but I would just put I would put some words in there first, because if you can tell what somebody's doing if they just put the period on there. But with Twitter, if you post something, right, your 1,000 followers see it. But if 6 or 7 people engage back with you, retweet it, or they reply, now you just pushed out to 50,000. So engagement is key, right? So the content you put up, not all content has to be engaged, right? It's okay. People still see it, you know. When NHA starts their Instagram, I'm still going to see it. I'm not always engaged with it, but they're in the forefront of my mind, you know. And now that they've caught my attention, when they throw out that, oh, don't forget there's this thing tonight, which is that 20%, right? I'm going to see it and be like, oh, yeah, Quiz Bowl. Forgot, you know. So I would try to engage people more. Nope. Yeah, I guess there's too much. I mean, if you schedule all your tweets and they're all coming out at the wrong time, like there's a lot of people during the Boston bombings, they schedule their tweets. They go in on Monday, they schedule them for the whole week. During the Boston bombing, all these like weird tweets are coming out during the bombing. You know that's not what they were doing, right? So you gotta be careful with that stuff. You know, I would suggest scheduling some tweets here and there throughout the week, basic stuff, but it's got to be engaging, right? You gotta kind of connect with people. Twitter's the global cocktail party, right? You're at a cocktail party. There's 50 people there. You know 5, but it's okay in a cocktail party to walk up and just introduce yourself to someone, or you come into a circle where everybody's talking, and you listen for a little bit, and then you engage in the conversation, right? You can't do that on Facebook as much, because Facebook is your backyard barbecue, right? No one's going to come in that you don't know and be like, you know, hey, how's it going? It's like, who are you? It would be weird, right? It's a closed network. You have to let me in to your world. Where it's a little more, it's global.
Jason?
Yeah.
Apparently I have a microphone. Can you reiterate about what you were just saying, the basic rules about what you're saying to reach people, the hashtag thing, the at whoever, all those little rules, because I don't understand that.
Working for the town as the digital public outreach, I can come in and we can do a one-on-one, and I can go through all that stuff with you, because it probably take 20, 30 minutes to explain it all. I just don't want to get too detailed. Yeah, that's more of when you're replying back and forth to someone. If you start off the tweet with their handle and not an actual character, they're only going to see it, not all their followers. So you want to put some words before you're replying back. This is a little trick of the trade. Yeah, and then hashtags. I could do a whole hour on hashtags and how to use those. But hashtags are what connects us in all these different platforms about a subject. So you have 100 million people all using Twitter. 50,000 are talking about the same thing, and use that with a hashtag. People you don't know. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nantucket as a whole isn't super digital savvy. We're not. We're behind a little bit from the public sector to private. We all are. And one of my altruistic goals is to up our game a little bit, because we're competing against the Cape and the Vineyard and vacations in Italy, and we want people to continue to come here. We're a tourist destination, but we still need people to live here, visit, everything. So this is one way I think we can do it. Answer your question specifically, I don't think anything trending just for Nantucket. I think using the Throwback Thursdays is great. I mean, that's been around for 5 years, but to be creative with it, right? So let's just use the NHA, Throwback Thursdays. They got a lot of history. They could throw out anything, right? That would be great. I'd love to see Absalom Boston up on every other Thursday, right? He's my man. So I would say using whatever's trending right now. I mean, there's a bunch about Man Crush Mondays. Yeah, MCM, hashtag, yeah. But people use it for their pets. Like it doesn't have to be, you can be creative about it. So the Safe Harbor for, the Animal Center can use Man Crush Mondays to promote their new puppy that's coming in. He just happens to be a boy, right? Candace? It's going to be a little different. If you're in retail, you're selling something, Pinterest is going to be more important, than somebody else, than maybe a restaurant. A restaurant, wouldn't need to be, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Everybody should be on Instagram. It's growing fast, and it's a younger crowd that everybody wants to get in their nonprofit or their restaurant. LinkedIn is still growing, is still really, really improving. And if you're a realtor on the island, LinkedIn better be your number one, your top 3 platforms that you're on every single week. Because talk about somebody who's branding themselves all the time, right? I know Nantucket, right? Why pick me as opposed to somebody else? Because I know this island better, right? But we're kind of all in that area on this island, right? We all want to show that we know this island really well, and it's also a commodity. Everybody wants a piece of this island. They want this. They want the NHA. They want the sunsets. They want the beach. They want the dune beach salad. They want everything. When they're here that 1 week, they can't wait to come back again. So some of the best engagement you'll ever get is putting up a sunset in Nantucket. Doesn't matter what your product or service is. You'll get the most hits because everybody wants to be here. So that's that 80%. Those main platforms, right? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Google Plus is probably number 5. It's up and coming. People don't understand it as much, but it's important for SEO because they have something that's called link equity. When you post something on Google Plus, authorship, it comes up in the search engine optimization. They also call it link juice. Kind of gross, but link equity, yeah. Those are the main ones. But what's happening is there's all these smaller ones. So if you're a craft beer lover, there's one called Untapped, where you can check into your favorite craft beers. And it's a social network within itself, but you can push it to Twitter, Facebook. So if that is part of your brand, why would you not want to be on Untapped, so to speak, right? Because you're connecting. Some people I work with say, well, yeah, I don't really want to be on all these, I don't have time for it. And then I'll say, well, what else do you love to do besides, let's say I'm talking to a realtor, what else do you love to do? I'm into horses, have my whole life. I work with this organization and this. I'm like, so start talking about that. That's your 80%. Talk about what you're passionate about. You're going to connect with people, other people all over the world who love horses, and somebody is going to be coming, or one of their friends is going to be coming to Nantucket. Now they know you, they trust you, you build a relationship up with them, and now they're going to suggest you to rent a house. Right? That's how this works. That's probably the best story of this whole presentation, of talking about what you love, what you're passionate about, why you do it, not what you do. Right, Candace? We did a video for the bike tours, and Candace helped us and shot it. And all we talked about is why we do it. Because you can go on my website, you can find out what we do. You can call me and find out when the tours start. But why we do it? That's how you bring people in. But I answer that. David, why do you do what you do? Yeah. You create these experiences for people. that a lot of the people you can't do. And, right, and they're going to talk about it for the next 80 years. I would think that when you walk away, like that's what, after all that hard work, that's what, you have a smile on your face when you go to bed because you created this experience for them. Right. Right. Yep. So putting that out, and on all your social media channels, right? That's what you have to talk about. The About Us page on your website should be one of the most important pages on your site. You need to talk about why you do it. Access what? Hmm. That's great. That's a great story. Yeah, you put your passion into it, and you're able to, that your reach is kind of, it goes global. Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think one thing on Nantucket, because we're 30 miles out to sea, we can't pull from resources of the next town over. It's just us out here. So you have to go to Habitat for Humanity, and you got to bang nails. And you have to do Meals on Wheels. And you need to show up and help everybody. Whether it's just helping your neighbor move, or you're on a board, or you're on a committee, whatever it is. Or you can do, I call them one-offs. You show up for a race and volunteer and just say, this way, right? We need that to make this island work. So when you do these things, tell people about it. Don't think that it's like, I'm kind of patting myself in the back too much. I have a friend, Jeff Smith, who's a landscaper, who puts so much of his time into helping other organizations. The list is so long, what he does. He takes his staff, they go and they help the Lightship Museum move all their stuff for their big yard sale. He goes and does the pops. He runs all the chairs with his crew, and he pays them. All these things that he does. And I said, Jeff, why don't you put this on Facebook? Why don't you let everybody know? He said, it's kind of tacky. I said, but there's a way to do it. Thank your staff. Let people know that Pops is going on, right? You're building your brand. So the example that I want to use, Rocky Fox, I heard on the radio last year talking about Meals on Wheels and how important it was to him. He got choked up. I was driving down the road. I got choked up. He was talking about, one of his mentors who was elderly and needed Meals on Wheels. I was like, I'm doing that. Something I always kind of wanted to do. And then I forgot about it, right? We go on our routines and we forget. I saw on Facebook 3 months later, hey, Meals on Wheels needs volunteers. If I didn't have that connection with him from the radio, which is traditional media, and then again through social media, so I saw it, and then I said, I'm doing it right now, and I called up Sherry Hunt, and then I became a volunteer this year. But it wouldn't happen if Rocky didn't tell people what he was doing. He wasn't glorifying what he was doing. He wasn't patting himself on the back. But if he didn't go out and tell us, I would never saw it, and then I couldn't have helped. So, yeah. I guess it could hurt you if you didn't have a vision 3 and 5 years out. You weren't thinking about it. But, you know, if you use the Holly example, you probably could have Martha's Vineyard Black Book. You know, you create a structure. Nantucket Bike Tours. It could be Savannah Bike Tours, and you build it kind of the same way. I guess it could hurt if you put all your eggs in one basket, but you'd probably be starting from scratch, going somewhere else if it's Nantucket specific, right? As opposed to making awesome salt and pepper shakers, right? They don't have the word Nantucket on them. They're just made here, and they kind of can go global, right? Yeah. But if you opened up Nantucket Allies somewhere else, all those same principles you would do there, you would require all your staff to do, you know, Saturday clean teams and everything in that community that's important, right? I think it's a tad bit more important in Nantucket because we're 30 miles out to sea, and it's different, just different here. As we all say, you know, it's different on Nantucket. Yes, I will be dressed in drag on Monday night. It was in the paper today. It's official. Well, Saturday and Sunday I have to learn Vogue in this like 8-step dance, and then I'm singing like a virgin by myself with one other guy, lip syncing. But that's for a good cause. It's for the Rotary. Yeah, I'm going to be embarrassed and it's going to be silly, but it raises money for the Rotary. Why wouldn't I do that? Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. I would say a good example would be Vineyard Vines, right? They've taken that lifestyle brand, they've pushed it everywhere. Everybody wants a piece of that. So I think you're still okay, Rob. You can conquer the world. I know it. Mhm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But you don't. You go on these trips and you write about these great things that are, yeah. Right. Hmm. Yeah. Anything else? Where are we on time, Lindsay? It's 5 minutes. Whatever. Anything else? We do them in blocks of 4, so we don't know when we're going to do the next 4. We probably have one more round before everything goes crazy here, you know, on the island. So I think we'll do another block. Well, we do them at the chamber upstairs, so the chamber puts it out, and then Holly and I push it out through all our different channels. So we do this. What we do there is a little more specific. You know, we'll talk just about Facebook and EdgeRank, and then we'll do a class on Twitter and a class on Pinterest and Instagram. The class is called Pinstagram. It's Pinterest and Instagram. And they're more specific of the functionalities, how to get around. And then yeah, yep, yep. Rob? Yes, balance. You need balance. So I'm starting to work with the new school, and to create digital citizenship. We haven't figured out the name, but how to work with kids, and a safety aspect, but also time. Also work with the parents on having a phone basket, so when you walk in the door, when dinner starts, everybody's phones, even mom and dad's phones, have to go into the phone basket. And you make it a thing, right? Or whatever you want to call it. Make it a big lobster pot or something. And then after you have dinner, then you can go back to it. The hard part is, as a parent, how do you let go of your phone because we're connected to it? So we're working on things there, but it's balance. It's Courtney, as you know, my mate, she will leave the phone in the car and we go out to dinner. I'm always like, what are you doing? It's not that bad. And she'll just leave it there. And we'll have a dinner, and we're not talking, looking at our phones. And so that's really good to do. It's refreshing. But I think that balanced conversation needs to always be there, because you still need to have a handshake. You still have to meet people. You still need to write handwritten notes. If you walk away with anything from this class, presentation, whatever this is don't stop handwriting notes. Continue to do them. Just because. It grounds us. Now it holds so much more weight than it did 30 years ago. If you get a handwritten letter or a note from somebody, are you kidding me? You're going to hug them hard the next time you see them. That's amazing. So that stuff is really, really important. All right, thanks, guys.